Support provided by Walters Papillon Thomas Cullens, LLC, specializing in business litigation and personal injury cases for over 40 years.
As I came in, there's so many things that make me feel welcome. One of them would be the warm words from you, Mike. Another would be being in a room where I'm pretty sure that everybody's going to laugh at an Opelousas joke. Thank you very much. I appreciate that as well. But I return to Baton Rouge, to great food, to remarkable people. There's a table right here filled with people that I know and appreciate and respect so much. And as I've sat here and walked around and spoken to people, I've learned about how many of you have been so dedicated to the work that we do. For those that I did not meet, I thank you as well. I hope I gave a proper thank you to those of you that I did meet. So there are a few things that have been established, but I want to reiterate. I want to begin by reiterating the fact that I was born right down 190 in Opelousas, Louisiana. Went to undergrad in Lafayette, law school in Baton Rouge. It's in this region that I got my first job, that I got my second job, that I met my husband, that I had my kids. It's in this region that I learned everything that matters. Here, I learned about kindness, about compassion. I learned respect for my elders. I learned that which we do to the least of our brothers matters. I learned those things here. It was here that I received extraordinary investment. When you hear that litany of things that Mike just spoke of, I don't know if you frame it the way that I do. So I want to share a few important points. I want to share the fact that I am definitely a dark horse. That in most places, but clearly not in the state of Louisiana. That a person whose grandparents were sharecroppers, neither of whose parents graduated from high school, that person doesn't receive the types of investments that I've received here. That person doesn't graduate from college, go to undergrad, go to law school, surprise her mother in explaining that you can get 2 law degrees by going to law school again, and get to do the other extraordinary things that I've done, that I pinch myself about, that I'm deeply grateful for. I try hard not to allow myself to forget that it's really not because of me that these things have happened, but it's because of the kindness of people in this great state. People who saw something, who decided to either plant a seed or add soil or water or sunlight. All of those things happened for me here. I remember finding myself surprised that when Katrina hit, I wasn't here. I was in Bentonville, Arkansas then, and I remember things were going pretty well for me at Walmart. I'd just gotten a promotion. I'd already been, like Bubba said when he got that green jacket at the Masters, and someone asked him, how did you suspect that was going to feel? And he said, I didn't dream that far. I knew what he meant because I never imagined that I would find myself in the places that I found myself. So there I was in Bentonville, Arkansas, promoted to a global position, faced with the reality that I was probably going to need to leave. So I went to an officers' meeting we had our officers' meetings on Fridays, and right after the officers' meeting, this is while Katrina is happening, and I have 6 members of my family, and we don't know where they are. We can't find them. So I'm sitting in the auditorium thinking about how much I loved being at Walmart, but I love Louisiana more. Tears start welling up in my eyes because right after that meeting, I was going to go talk to my boss and explain to him that I was going to have to leave. So I sat there, and then the people of Walmart started activating. So they started talking about all of the officers coming together and putting water in trucks and sending them to New Orleans. And I sat there going, I don't think I could get a truck full of water if I were in Opelousas. And then we started talking about people like a manager that was in Waveland, Mississippi, who didn't call back to home office to ask could she, but used a front end loader and tore through a Walmart to make sure that the good people of Waveland had food to eat. I thought, we were celebrating that person that day. She was still gainfully employed that day. And it dawned upon me that the best way that I could give back to this state that I care so much about was to not return to Opelousas. It was to stay at Walmart. And it was to do that which I could to help Walmart to be helpful. Walmart was helpful. I want to believe that I had at least a little bit to do with that help. But I stayed at Walmart longer than I expected that I would. Time passed. I woke up in 2015 after thinking I'd only be there for a couple of years, and I was still there. And then I learned something that shook me at my core. I learned that I had breast cancer. I was in the best shape of my life. I just knew everything was rolling. I had a long time. That taught me, although I was stage 1, my prognosis was great. When the cancer was gone, I was changed, though. Because what that did was it highlighted for me that I am finite, that I don't get always. And I asked myself, what did I need my legacy to be? And would I be able to fully realize that legacy at Walmart? And my answer was no. So I started the process of leaving. Now, it took me a long time to leave, but leave I did. But where would I go? What might I do? I knew that after working at Fortune 1, that I wasn't leaving so that I could work at Fortune. Now, what's lower than 1? Or in this case, what's higher than 1? Okay, so I wasn't going to leave to go work at another company. I wasn't going to leave to make more money. I wasn't going to leave to have more status. Remember Bubba, the green blazer? I had more of that than I dreamed I would have on all counts. I was going to leave to make more impact, or at least to try. And by then, I already knew about Feeding America. I knew about its work. I was on the foundation board at Walmart, where it was one of my great privileges to make decisions about where Walmart would invest its resources. I was there when we differentiated among many, many organizations that wanted to do good things, and found those rare organizations that not only wanted to do good things, but that had measurable results in getting great things accomplished. And I knew that Feeding America was one of those places. But the job wasn't open. As fate would have it, I've gotten the opportunity to be in this role. And I don't believe in luck. I am here because this role represents my best opportunity, my very best opportunity to live the ideals that I learned right here. And I ponder, if this is the place that I learned all of those things, how could it be that the numbers are what they are here in the great state of Louisiana? So my surmise is, Louisiana must not know. Louisiana must not realize that in the United States of America, the people who live here are the third most food insecure people in the whole country. Louisiana must not realize that. Louisiana must not realize that the children who live here are the second most food insecure children in the whole United States of America. And this place that taught me to say ma'am and sir and please and thank you, this place that taught me to respect my elders must not know that Louisiana is the worst place to grow old. Number one, in the whole United States of America. Louisiana just must not know. Part of my responsibility is to make certain that we know. And then my responsibility is to help us with the path that changes it. I am here because I know that the people in this room have the ability to be a part of that change. That's why I'm here. I want to talk to you about something that we should all be proud of that's already happening. And then I want to end with the fact that there'll be some stuff that you can do. So what's happening already that you should be proud of? Already in this state, Natalie J. Rowe, sitting right here, who serves the great people of New Orleans and Acadiana, thank you very much, from Second Harvest. She's here, and she's participating in this work. Corey from the State Association is participating in this work. And you won't be surprised, because you know him even better than I do, that Mike Manning is participating in this work as well. The food bankers in this state have decided that they care about every person facing hunger in this whole state. That while they understand that they have a fiduciary responsibility to a particular territory, and they don't have any intention of abdicating that responsibility, they believe that collectively we can do more than any of us could do alone. We've started an effort which I call Boundless, and I'll tell you why I called it Boundless, but that's not the official name of the effort. I call it Boundless because I had the privilege of having some obligations in the state within a couple of weeks of joining as CEO at Feeding America. And I'm inclined, where'd you think I learned this? That I'm supposed to do what I say I'm going to do. So although I had a brand new job and now I'm sitting in Chicago, I said, oh no, but people are counting on me to go do these two things, so I'm going to have to go do these two things. And I told my board, I will be absent on those days. I'll be in Louisiana. So I found myself in Louisiana, and I had to go to Lafayette, and I needed to go to New Orleans, and I thought, well, we've got food banks there. So, you know the story very well. So I was in New Orleans, and I said, well, let me see. I was talking to the person who helps with my schedule, and I said, if I'm in New Orleans, you know, Baton Rouge is only about an hour and a half from New Orleans. I could go to the Baton Rouge Food Bank. So I did. So, well, wait, if I'm in Baton Rouge is only about an hour and a half from Alexandria. I could go to the food bank in Alexandria. So I did. Now that Alexandria Food Bank, it's only about an hour and a half from Shreveport. So while I'm in Alexandria, I could go to Shreveport too. Did I go to Shreveport?
Yes, ma'am.
I did. Now, what's about an hour and a half from Shreveport? Monroe. So then I went to Monroe. So on that trip, I drove with new eyes across the state of Louisiana. I drove in this capacity as a person entrusted and empowered to do good by this state that did so well by me. And as I crisscross across the state, I noticed in stark what wasn't there. As I crossed from Natalie's territory into Mike's, from Mike's into Jane's, from Jane's into Martha's, from Martha's into Jean's, there was never a sign that said, hunger stops here. So if hunger in this state has no boundary, why should I work? My answer was, it shouldn't. Your answers were, we agree. So we've embarked upon an audacious initiative called the Louisiana Collaboration. And I'm sure some branding expert will tell me that's not a good name either. What I want to leave with you is not what the name is, but what I want to leave with you is it represents a remarkable opportunity for those of us who have the benefit of being taught the very same things that I was taught, and who have benefited from the investments that this state makes in its people. It represents an opportunity for all of us to decide that it is not acceptable for the elderly of this state to not have consistent access to nutritious food. And I know, because I lived here, that one of the things that we take solace in is, well, is anybody from Mississippi or Alabama in here? Well, at least it's not Alabama. Or at least it's not Mississippi. That someone else is farther to the bottom of the bad list, of the good list, or farther to the top of the bad list. Well, guess what? We're on the top of 3 very bad lists. And we can do something about it. I like to have very specific things that I ask, so we're working through what those specific asks will be. But in the meantime, I ask that you continue to show your compassion toward your neighbors. Continue to live the principles that you've been taught. Continue to support remarkable organizations like those that already exist right now in your community. I ask you to continue to do those things and to keep your eyes and ears open, because we will be back with some action steps about how it is that you can help to impact hunger in this state in meaningful and systemic ways. How we together can decide. And by the way, we get to decide. Do not allow yourself to be tricked into believing you don't get to decide. We can decide that it simply is unacceptable. Thank you very much. So I was told that if it was not at 1 o'clock yet, at which time Mike tells me this is over. It's kind of, apparently, Natalie, it's like being at Mardi Gras on the next day. Midnight. It's gone. At midnight, it's done. So I did want to open the floor for any questions, comments, concerns that any of you might have before I take my seat. Yes, ma'am.
So when you say food, do you mean picky eaters or just don't have access to nutritious, more nutritious food?
Yes. So it runs the gamut. There are people in the state who have very, very little to eat at all. And I know we believe, generally, and I believed it as well for a long time, that in this country, surely that can't be true, but it is in fact true. and that there are circumstances that cause that to happen sporadically for people sometimes. I'll give you as an example. During the government shutdown, there are many people in this country, in fact, the vast majority of us are somewhere between $400 and $600 incident away from a financial crisis. The majority of people in the United States of America are between $400 and $600 away from a financial crisis. So, during the government shutdown, there are people who miss multiple paychecks. Our country tends to live from paycheck to paycheck. As a consequence, there are people who, out of the blue, never imagined that they would need to rely upon charitable food to feed their families, but they did. And our organization, including the people in this room, stood up and helped. Another environment might be, that's episodic, might be, there are elderly, for instance, where one of the couple, a member of the couple, worked at home and the other one worked outside of the home. It's often in our culture the female who worked in the home and helped to raise the children. So this is a classic example. There are exceptions, of course. And the man, let's say in this example, went to work, got a pension, and retired. He didn't expect that he couldn't afford to retire when he retired. And then he had an incident, a medical incident, that resulted in having mounting medical bills. As a result, the surviving spouse used all the money to pay to try to save her husband. Upon his passing, she has nothing. Never imagined that she would need to rely on charitable food. There are other people, but the general definition that we use when we say food insecurity, what it means is, it's a USDA definition, and it basically means that you do not have consistent, reliable access to the food that you need to sustain a healthy lifestyle. That's what it means. So across the spectrum, what that could mean, it could mean practically nothing to not nearly enough. Does that make sense? Okay, I hope that helped. Thanks.
Yeah.
Yes?
I know you're new to the role, but when you think about, Louisiana, we're unique, right? But there are obviously other states that we could look at that are having success with battling the distribution of food. Is there any state or group that we're looking at that we could model or take and adapt?
Absolutely. So that's one of the benefits of being part of a network. So, but I do want to tell you something, and I often, I wish that I had a joke I could tell that would have people to laugh. Much of what I'm talking about is really sobering. There is no county or parish in this whole country that does not have food insecurity in it. Name it. Name any. None. There are zero. There are 37 million people across the United States who suffer from food insecurity. So there's no food bank that has fully cracked the code on everything that needs to be done to ensure that there are no food insecure people in their area. But the good news is we have remarkable work that's been done inside of our network. Some of the work that's modeled inside of our network actually started, guess where? In Louisiana. So we have innovations happening all the time in our network. One of the things that we do at Feeding America National Office, part of our responsibility is to help the network to understand what's working well, to invest in pilots, and then to scale the things that work. So that's a part of what we do every day. So absolutely, yes, there are people doing great things. Unfortunately, no one has completely cracked the code. It is a complex set of questions with a complex series of answers. But we're in it to win it. We're in it to win it. Yes, sir.
You mentioned that Louisiana is the worst state to grow old in.
Yes, sir.
Can you talk to us a little more about that?
It's based upon the food insecurity standard. So it's more likely if you're a senior who grows old in the state of Louisiana that you're not going to have consistent access to nutritious food. that you will not have enough food that you can consistently rely upon to lead a healthy lifestyle. And because, and a lot of what happens with a lot of our seniors, and I'll bet you'll know people that qualify into this definition. We have lots of seniors who invest so much in their children. Their children get great educations, and many of their children move away. If you grew up in Opelousas, Louisiana, not a lot of places you can be a tax lawyer over there. You got to at least move to Baton Rouge, right? So children move away. And then the parent never wants to be a drag on their child. So the child is off somewhere in a big city far away, calling mom and dad and saying, "Are you okay?" Mom and dad are saying, "Oh yeah, we're fine." They have no idea. Mom and dad are making choices about whether I'm going to buy prescription medicine or eat. They have no idea that that's happening. It's happening at alarming rates in the state of Louisiana. So that's what I'm talking about.
Percentage-wise, do you have any idea?
Yeah, so let me look down right here and I'll tell you the exact number for food insecurity among the elderly in the state. So on the national level, it's 7.7%. In the state of Louisiana, it's 12.3%. Nearly double. So again, one of the things you can rely on me for, though you don't know me, there are people in the room who do. One, I am a data-driven human being. I am. Remember, I was the executive vice president of finance at Walmart. I study the numbers. I study the numbers. I wish these were not correct. I know that they are. I know that they are. They're unfortunate, they're correct, but we can do something about them. We can do something about them, and we're working on what that plan looks like. That's a statewide plan that will be designed to make certain that we do, that will take the best practices that we've seen all over the United States and beyond the US, by the way, where there also is food banking and their best practices there too, bring those to bear on this state, and then get the outcomes that the people of the state deserve. I hope that answered your question. Yes. There was someone back there. Yes.
Maybe discuss the governmental assistance for nutrition, food programs, SNAP, WIC, maybe some for the elderly, and how there's overlap.
Yes.
And your thoughts on that?
Sure. And it's an area that we've been trying our best to be very thoughtful about, right? So people they misunderstand some things that are factually correct about some of those programs. For instance, most people don't realize that most people who receive food assistance have jobs. Most people don't realize that. Again, sir, did I mention finance? I assure you, I know these numbers are correct. Most people who receive food assistance, the majority of people who receive food assistance have jobs or fall into these distinct categories. They're either elderly or children or people with disabilities. And there are other people who receive food assistance that some of us don't feel the same level of compassion for, and we have questions about, well, why is it that you require food assistance? And I think those are debates to be had. However, there is no debating that a 2-year-old should not have the wherewithal to find a way to get enough food to eat. And that there are children in this country and in this state who are not getting enough to eat, who eat at school, and then do not have anything to eat at home, and who are trying to figure out, their parents are trying to figure out, how do we bridge the gap between Friday and Monday, and oh my goodness, what do we do during the summer? So there is federal assistance. That federal assistance is very helpful. It provides a lot, but it does not provide for the Delta, and I won't bore you with too much more data, but I'd be happy to supplement with some information. We have some data. We have research scientists, by the way, who work inside of our organization. That's one of the unique things about Feeding America. And some of our food banks have food research scientists as well. And we've done some analysis, and other organizations have too, and we've leveraged the analysis that they've done, that speak to how much money do you need in order to afford all of the things that you need to pay for. So a place to live, gas, clothes, food, medicine. And we're finding that because there's a delta there with a lot of people, that also results in a delta in terms of how much food they have. So there is a gap. There's a gap here. We can close the gap. Yes, there was another question over here. Yes.
The
Yes, sir.
37 million that you quoted over the last 3, 5, 7, 10 years, what has the trend been on
Yeah.
that number?
So I'm glad you asked that question, because there's good news there. We've actually made progress. For the first time, last year represents the first time since the recession that we have returned to pre-recession food insecurity rates in the country. So that's good news. So there are things that are happening that are being helpful. We'd like to think that people who've been in this movement as long as they have, doing the things that they're doing around the country, that that's a part of the answers for people that we serve. So we think we have, and that's part of what the plan that I can't unfold until it's finished. I can't publish fully until it's finished. But that the plan that we will embark upon in Louisiana will be informed by data that tells us, so this is what worked there, this is what worked there. If we combine these 4 things together and we put them all here, we have reason to believe that it'll work here as well. So the good news is the trend has finally broken, but this last year was the first year that we got back to pre-recession rates. So it used to be 41 million, and in fact, in the year before that, we fed 46.5 million people. And we're now at 37 million. But we agree, that's 37 million too many, right, sir? All right, good. All right, just want to make sure I don't lose the lead in this answer. Yes, okay, I don't know. Mike's helping me to know who was first. Hi, George.
Hey, thank you for, I guess, raising the level of awareness about a segment of the population that we call, I'm with United Way, ALICE.
Yeah.
Asset limited, income constrained, but employed.
Yes.
And that's the segment of the workforce, or of the population, that many of them are working for paycheck to paycheck. And in our community, East Baton Rouge Parish, 45% of our households are in what's called ALICE. So what you're talking about is right on point, and that's what the data shows.
Yes.
We're blessed to have a good partnership with the Food Bank of Greater Baton Rouge. But yes, this is something that needs focus. This needs a lot of attention, and we're just glad to be a part of it. But I tell you, it takes the entire village to really address this.
It truly does, and that's one of the things. May I speak? So thank you for that comment. Thank you for that endorsement. They know you better than they know me, so maybe they'll believe your data. So I'm just playing with this guy over here. I'm like, oh, he's going to say, don't invite her back, Mike. Never invite her back. No, but thank you for challenging it. You have a right to know what the data actually says, and that this is not opinion, so I appreciate that question, really. But part of the solution absolutely is partnerships. It's a multifaceted, nuanced set of challenges. We must approach it in a multifaceted, nuanced way. I don't know if this audience is aware of one of the ugly truths that I learned, which is lots of nonprofits compete against each other when they're trying to serve the exact same population. I refuse to participate in such. I will not do that. I'm going to find partners who care about the same communities that I care about, who are in the same movement that I'm in, and I'm going to work with those people. And I'm going to start by being a great partner. I'm going to model the behavior that I desire. I'm going to talk to donors and say, you should expect us to do it like this, by the way. And then by hook, crook, we're going to find a way, and I hope you're going to be one of them, right? So I want your card before I leave. Thank you. Awesome. Thank you.
Support provided by Walters, Papillon, Thomas Cullens, LLC, specializing in business litigation and personal injury cases for over 40 years.